In this video, we're going to look at how the medical industry treats autism differently in the US and the UK. We're also going to look at how society treats people differently, and we're going to involve ourselves in a bit of a group discussion just because I thought it would be a fun idea and I've never done anything like this before. This video is brought to you by Wondershare Video Converter. Now, this is an app that you can download to your computer or your MacBook and convert any video into any other video format. So basically, like for me, my TV only takes AVIs, but I have all my videos on MP4, so I convert the videos from MP4 to AVI. It's super easy. You can even plug in your iPhone, your iPad into your computer, and it'll convert the video from that device into whatever format you need for your device, and it's super easy to do. So I've left a link in the description below, and also if you check out the link down below, you can vote and get yourselves a place to win an iPad, which is pretty cool. So please check out the links below. Okay, on with the video. Yo, what's good? I'm Dan. I do weekly videos on autism and Asperger's. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. I'm joined here today by the lovely Bree and Kane and Vikram, not Vicky. Hi. And so Kane and Vicky are really good friends of mine. Bree's a really good friend of mine, but she flew all the way from
Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska, which is like in the middle of nowhere. But the interesting thing is that Bree's on the spectrum, I'm on the spectrum. Kane and Vicky are really close friends of ours, and so it'll be a good idea that we could all just kind of share this video, so we can tell you like our differences, and then Kane and Vicky can join in and we can just have a discussion. I thought it'd be a really cool idea for this video, so without further ado, let's roll it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is talk about the medical differences first, and how the idea of the medical differences is that the medical profession here in the UK are definitely vastly different to the ones in the US. One, because obviously the payment of it, and I think that does actually impact the treatment that they actually give people, which we'll go into in a minute. But Bree, do you want to introduce yourself and your conditions and things like that, just so people know who you are? Because obviously if you're watching this channel and you know who I am, then you may not know who Bree is.
Who are you? My name is Bree. I have ADHD, OCD, and ASD.
So
they don't call it Asperger's in America.
No, they don't, and this is another thing. Well, we'll get into that in a minute, because I get a lot of questions about the DSM-5 nomenclature and how they diagnose it in the US to the UK. But I think I was one of the last here in the UK to do it. They don't do it here anymore either with Asperger's, but they do ASC and ASD. So okay, so well, our conditions are quite similar. I don't think it's different. I would say is dyslexia, I guess.
Yeah, I don't have that.
So no reading and writing issues.
Maybe with numbers, like.
It's dyscalculus. Is that what it's called? I don't know. Let me know in the description below if you know what it is. I don't know. It's like dyslexic with numbers. I've just everyone's heard it say it like that, but I don't know. So okay, in the UK, diagnosing Asperger's, they use a few different systems. Now they use a universal one called the DSM system, which is now I think accepted universally in America as well, isn't it? And then the new one that came out, the DSM-5, actually took Asperger's out of the diagnostic process and just called it autism spectrum conditions or autism spectrum disorders. So were you to get your diagnosis on the DSM-5? Is that how you diagnosed, or what was the?
First, it was suggested to be by my therapist, and she was like, I mean, just everything that you have, it's just you totally have it. So what I had to do is that was through my husband's insurance when he was in the Air Force, when everything was free.
Yeah.
And then he started driving trucks, and we switched to Cypress. And
is that a different insurance company?
It's a different insurance, but we're like paying for our pills for the first time. Yeah. I had to get an endoscopy, and it cost $6,000 out of pocket.
Whoa, that's crazy. But in terms of like the treat. Okay, is there a difference between the two insurance companies? Like if you were paying for one and you had a free one, technically, was there a difference in how they treated you as a person with a condition? As in, what I'm trying to say is that, do you think that they try and make more money out of you in one insurer if they know you're paying kind of top dollar for it?
Well, no, because actually, like even with the military, their insurance gets payout whenever we get money. So, or like whenever we're giving our money to the company. So TRICARE is like, yeah, that's awesome. I think it's like $32,000 to give vaginal birth to a healthy baby in the United States.
See, this is, yeah.
And so, I mean, it's just, medically we're so different. And I think, I don't know, I think the diagnostic criteria is like the same. First I got diagnosed with ADHD. And I was 17, and it was 3 days of testing.
Well, that's the usual one, and I find this a lot, especially with females. That it'd be bipolar disorder.
I've been diagnosed with that before.
ADHD,
and borderline personality disorder.
GAD. Yeah. So
we don't call it GAD. Like I think PTSD.
Oh yeah, PTSD. So they're like the general ones that like females get diagnosed with, because they don't know how that obviously the whole masking thing, which I did in a video. If you're interested in knowing like the typical symptoms of a female with autism or Asperger syndrome, click the link above in the iCard and it'll take you to that video I did in it last week or 2 weeks ago, which is quite an interesting video. But moving on though, most people will be diagnosed with that, and then later on it'll kind of become like an ASD kind of diagnosis.
I mean, I didn't get diagnosed until I was 32, so, and I'm 34 now.
Yeah, it is late, and I feel like it's people in our generation as well that get diagnosed later. But getting back to the fact that the differences between the US and the UK, one of the main things, and this is one of the main reasons we're doing this video, is because we have this conversation where growing up in the UK, like, when it took me a while to get diagnosis as the correct diagnosis, because I had like all different types of ones, like dyslexic and agoraphobic and all these other things. But they try and give you they try and give you medicine in America. Oh, medicine. They prescribe anything in America. So, you need to be on these pills. This is what you need to have, like Adderall and all the other stuff they give you. But in the UK, it was more like not really taboo, but it wasn't really a given that you'd have medication. So I remember when you get your official diagnosis, the psychiatrist always like, okay, look, what medication should you be having? And I was like, well, I don't know, I've never been on any. And they said, oh, do you want any? We can try some. And I was like, look, I've had antidepressants before and diazepam, which is like a tranquilizer type of, like a benzo. And so they basically said, oh yeah, well, we can prescribe them. And they were happy to do it, but I was like, oh no, I feel like I want to do it naturally, really, and take out kind of things like caffeine and sugar that help my diet, and gluten and things, all that stuff. So they were really supportive of that, and they were really like, yeah, no, that's fine. But I feel like in America they were like, no, you got to take these pills.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty adamant about it. I mean, at one point I was on, I want to say 8 different medications.
Oh, God.
And this was like only
just for one condition.
Ago. Well, yeah, so what happened is, like, they started off pretty, like, mild with me. They started me off with Adderall.
Yeah, Adderall.
And then Ativan to bring me down at night. But Adderall didn't make me hyper like it makes other people. It just kind of, like, somebody was sitting on me. And that my room, my mind is usually a messy room. When I'm on Adderall, it's like everything is nice.
Well, that's the idea of Adderall, is to give you hyper focus.
Yeah.
But I think like.
But then like you can hyper focus on the wrong things. And I'll be on Amazon for like 3 hours.
But do you feel like you'd benefit from not being medicated over the years?
I think so, and I feel like if they hadn't started me when I was so young, I was 17.
Become, like, dependent on it.
And then like, because I feel like now I have chronic pain conditions. I have fibromyalgia, I have Hashimoto's, and I never had those problems before. Also, like, my liver's messed up because of a lot of the
processing the pills. Yeah, of course.
So I mean, and then I'm gluten intolerant. So. And
that's because, do you think, of the medication?
I think because of all the medications. Like, I'm the biggest I've ever been in my life. Also, like, I'm aging and I had 2 kids, but I think a lot of it, I think it's made my autism symptoms worse because I don't like to go in public at all anymore, really. Yeah, because like I feel like it will take one part away, but it will like elaborate another one, and it'll really lift that up. You know, so say it's like it gets rid of I don't know, social. Okay, so hyper focus, but then your social anxiety will go through the roof. So it's kind of like, whoa, it doesn't really balance it out, because then they'll want to try and sell you another pill to get rid of that, because
and then another one to.
In Germany, they said it perfectly. I went to a German doctor, and he says, okay, so they prescribe you Adderall, but then they give you something at night, and I was like, well, yeah. And he's like, so don't you feel like a robot? He's like, you have to take pills to literally do everything. You have to take pills to stay awake. You have to take pills to go to sleep. Yeah. And then I had to
shake it.
I had to take pills also so I wouldn't have bad dreams. I have very, very vivid dreams.
Is that because of the medication causing the bad dreams, you reckon?
No, that's from the PTSD.
Oh, yeah.
So I scream and I talk in my sleep.
The thing is, like, just listening to you talking about it is nuts, because like I'm just thinking, oh, that's a lot of medication to just take for something that and literally this is what I did. I sat down with so when I was diagnosed, I got given a like a key worker, I suppose you'd call it technically, but it was an ASD development worker, and he came to the house. He's a really cool guy. Doesn't work for me anymore because the government gets his funding. Anyway, we sat down and he was like, look, we're taking out caffeine, we took out caffeine, took out alcohol, took out processed sugar, and then mainly gluten-free, and how to reduce it. But your
health overall. When I lived in Germany, I was walking through the Black Forest every day. My boyfriend made me lunch, and like it was like whole grains, and he'd put like brie and gouda. I didn't drink pop for 5 years.
Yeah, see.
And when I came back to America, I was like, I would really like a Dr.
But I suppose
Pepper.
that again, like the American lifestyle. So like, let's move on to the second set of things we're going to talk about. So that's the medical one. We talk about the social society part. Is that like the American lifestyle is quite bad anyway. So like, you know, it's really unhealthy food, super like fatty red meats, processed.
They're bullies too, don't you think? Like a lot more so.
I think, yeah, and it's kind of like, it's cool to eat kind of like bad. It's cool to eat bad, but if you start eating healthy, you're a bit of a weirdo. Everyone makes fun of you. Like I say, if you're an organic vegan, everyone's like, but you know what I mean? I think it's, and you've got society to look at how food is.
See, like, that's not like that for me, because if someone tells me they eat healthy, I'm like, I really wish I could, because I tried to do it, and I was vegan for a while. I got really sick, but that's because I really like cupcakes, and I like gummy bears, and
but you can get vegan versions of those now. But
but I mean, and they do have good vegan baked goods, but I really like food a lot. I really like food.
But it is, I think America again, like there's a lot of like refined sugars and stuff that are going to make you super hype,
aspartame
and just like
and all that
like
stuff.
monosodium glutamate, just things that are just generally not good for your body. So if you've got a condition that's affected by things like gluten, I mean, goodness me, what's monosodium glutamate going to do to your body? You know, in a nutshell. So I think,
even like healthy things that you need to get, like my body, I have the MTHFR mutation, so I can't metabolize folic acid. So I mean, and that was scary during my pregnancy.
Yeah, but you need tons of it. You need tons of it.
Yeah, insurance would not fund me getting it was L-methylfolate, because they said it was brain food. I needed 15 grams of it a day.
So they wouldn't do it because of the cost, or?
Well, yeah, but they said it was a luxury, like, for your brain, because it's brain food, and I was just like, well, I mean, omega and, like, fats are good for your brain and stuff, and it's not taxed or anything, so.
Weird. Yeah, that's weird. Okay, so we're just going to move on to talking about society and how, like, the UK treat, like, people with an autism spectrum disorder compared to the US, and, like, obviously you have first-hand experience on it. I mean, I haven't had experience of this before. I mean, I've been to the US, and I never really needed to say, oh, by the way, you know, I've got ASD or anything. It's never been like a problem. I just kind of, I've called Ubers and do like, I've never really had to tell anybody, oh, blah, blah, blah. I've had to tell airlines, and the airlines were cool with it. They didn't really have a problem with it, but I'm just used to people being so accepting in the UK. They're just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Nobody's ever like an ass about it. But,
well, and it's just like, I was melting down like at the underground. I had no idea where I was supposed to go, and like if I was in the right area. So I called Dan up, and I'm just like crying, and he's just like, something funny, blah, 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 and I have no idea what he said.
I really sound like that as well.
So finally he was just like, well, look at something, just ask one of the people there, they should be really nice, and I was afraid that they weren't going to be nice. So I asked this one lady, and I was like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go, and I was like crying, and I was like, I'm autistic, and I'm supposed to get to Holyhead. So, and then she was like, oh, love. And then she
helped you get on the right line.
She carried my suitcase, and then she took me down, and then she put it, and it's like, it's just crazy, like how much better you get treated here as opposed to the United States, because there was a girl that just got like, girl or guy, kicked out of school for being autistic and singing.
Yeah, I heard about that as well. I think it's a cultural thing, because like in the UK we're overly apologetic, so like we always, I suppose we always say sorry for random stuff that you don't need to say sorry for. So I guess it's like, in terms of, I'm always like, if I'm always in doubt, I ask like a steward or a guard or a person who's in charge, because they're always going to be, it's their job to make sure you get the help you need or your support you need. So that's why I always said, speak to anybody, they'll help you. And you're like, I don't know why you couldn't get it, but of course, if you've never known. Well, this is quite alarming, really, because years ago, about 2 years ago, it used to be 1 in 60 people in America had an autism spectrum condition. Now it's 1 in 40. That's only been 2 years. That's a massive amount. So if you're, it's almost
because like, autistic people are having kids.
It's almost 50%. Well, not 50%, but it's a big chunk would have an autism spectrum disorder. So you're sitting in a room with obviously 40 people, well, at least one of them is going to have an issue.
So we're finding out more about ourselves. We've always had it. I don't think that it's
but I think it's like the professionals, like the police, the ambulances, and the firefighters. They should know, like, well, look, 1 out of every 40 houses they visit is going to have someone with a condition. So they should automatically just say, okay, we'll treat everybody like the house is going to have someone with a condition. it's a default, just like you wouldn't have no wheelchair access for you know, an ambulance. Of course you would, because it's just default. It's not everyone's
like,
gonna
I
need
can
it,
tell you
might.
really quickly too, when I was flying in Chicago and I like, are you autistic? And I was like, yeah. He goes, I can't tell at all, you can speak fine. And
yeah, that's another thing, and they call it hidden disability because it's the time you spend with somebody in certain situations where
but of course I'm masking when I'm talking to these people. I'm like, oh hi, yeah, that doesn't hurt my feelings at all.
There was something really interesting, like I like watching bands live, right? There's something interesting I spoke about in my key work. I like watching bands live, and I like being in a band and playing music, but I prefer to play music to a massive audience than be anywhere near being in a huge crowd like a fucking stadium. You never do it. And he was like, oh, well, how does it work? How does it work? And I was like, I don't know. It's like you put on a persona. You put on it's an actor. When you go on stage, you're acting, you're performing. Yeah? So that's what it's like. So when you put on a persona, so I know that if I have to go somewhere and do something, you put on a persona, like, oh, I'm gonna be damn, this guy does this thing. That's why I'm a bit, when I'm on my own chilling, I'm really nothing like. I don't know, people would see a massive difference if it was like, if they met me, like, oh, you're really boring. But I'm not boring, it's just that's how I am naturally.
We're not boring.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, it's not, you can't just take someone at face value and say like, oh yeah, I know exactly what the condition is. And you get that a lot. People kind of pretend to these like on the minute psych, yeah, like,
or you must have it really mild.
I know somebody's got autism. It's like, hey, you don't know bugger all, but it's quite funny. Yeah, you're really mild. Anyway, so let's wrap this up. And we just wanted to kind of, I don't know, maybe have a.
I just wanted to show that I'm a
Facebook group. If you guys are interested in support and groups, we have a Facebook group where we just talk about stuff. All my fans are in there, so you can check out the link in the description below for that. But anyway, right. So this has been an interesting discussion. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks everybody for being here today, and it's quite interesting having guests on the channel. If you want to join in the discussion, leave a comment in the comment section below. I will get back to you because I read every single comment and I reply to every single one. I know it kills me, but I do it. And hey, we'll see you next time, guys. Push.